Hello, and welcome to the Fighting Moose Podcast. I'm your host and narrator, Jason Hendrickson. This is a podcast where I retell stories, some fictional and some historical, that can be enjoyed by people of all ages. Today, we have a double feature with the stories Read and You Will Know and How a Prince Learned to Read from the book 50 Famous People, written by James Baldwin. Now this story comes as a result of looking for a story. Yesterday, we were raking leaves in the yard. During our work, my wife and son decided they wanted to try and remove a stump in the yard. They each started taking some wax at the stump with the maul, and while John was swinging, I said he reminded me of Paul Bunyan, so I went looking for a Paul Bunyan story. Well, after getting lost in the rabbit hole of looking for stories, I came across the book these stories came from, and the author was actually the author I used when I first started this podcast. What better way to celebrate 3 years than to start where you began? Anyway, these two stories pretty much coincide with things that I like to promote. The first being that if you need to know something, you should reference some written materials and learn more about it. The second is that reading is important. It doesn't happen very often that I meet someone who can't read, but in my career, I have talked with a few people who can't. For me, reading is a skill that everyone should have, and a skill that will help you achieve greatness and go far. I love reading, and I think that I'm definitely passing that love on to my son. If you or someone you know needs help with reading, check at your local library for reading help resources. Now, let's turn to today's story. I hope you enjoy. Let's begin.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Read and you will know. Mother, what are the clouds made of? Why does the rain fall? Where does all the rain water go? What good does it do? Little William Jones was always asking questions. I want to know, he said. I want to know everything. At first, his mother tried to answer all his questions, but after he had learned to read, she taught him to look in books for that which he wished to know. Mother, what makes the wind blow? Read, and you will know, my child. Who lives on the other side of the world? Read, and you will know. Why is the sky so blue? Read, and you will know. Oh, Mother, I would like to know everything. You can never know everything, my child, but you can learn many things from books. Yes, Mother, I will read, and then I will know. He was a very little boy, but before he was 3 years old, he could read quite well. When 8 years of age, he was the best scholar at the famous school at Harrow. He was always reading, learning, inquiring. I want to know, he kept saying. Read and you will know, said his mother. Read books that are true. Read about things that are beautiful and good. Read in order to become wise. Do not waste your time in reading foolish books. Do not read bad books. They will make you bad. No book is worth reading that does not make you better or wiser. And so, William Jones went on reading and learning. He became one of the most famous scholars in the world. The King of England made him a knight and called him Sir William Jones. Sir William Jones lived nearly 200 years ago. He was noted for his great knowledge, most of which he had obtained from books. It is said that he could speak and write 40 languages. How a Prince Learned to Read. 1,000 years ago, boys and girls did not learn to read. Books were very scarce and very precious, and only a few men could read them. Each book was written with a pen or a brush. The pictures were painted by hand, and some of them were very beautiful. A good book would sometimes cost as much as a good house. In those times, there were even some kings who could not read. They thought more of hunting and fighting than of learning. There was one such king who had 4 sons, Ethelbald, Ethelbert, Ethelred, and Alfred. The 3 older boys were sturdy, half-grown lads. The youngest, Alfred, was a slender, fair-haired child. One day, when they were with their mother, she showed them a wonderful book that some rich friend had given her. She turned the leaves and showed them the strange letters. She showed them the beautiful pictures and told them how they had been drawn and painted. They admired the book very much, for they had never seen anything like it. "But the best part of it is the story which it tells," said their mother. "If you could only read, you might learn that story and enjoy it. Now I have a mind to give this book to one of you." "Will you give it to me, mother?" asked little Alfred. "I will give it to the one who first learns to read in it," she answered. "I am sure I would rather have a good bow with arrows," said Ethelred. "And I would rather have a young hawk that has been trained to hunt," said Ethelbert. "If I were a priest or a monk," said Ethelbald, "I would learn to read, but I am a prince, and it is foolish for princes to waste their time with such things." "But I should like to know the story which this book tells," said Alfred. A few weeks passed by. Then, one morning, Alfred went into his mother's room with a smiling, joyous face. "Mother," he said, "will you let me see that beautiful book again?" His mother unlocked her cabinet and took the precious volume from its place of safekeeping. Alfred opened it with careful fingers. Then he began with the first word on the first page and read the first story aloud without making one mistake. "Oh, my child, how did you learn to do that?" cried his mother. "I asked the monk, Brother Felix, to teach me," said Alfred, "and every day since you showed me the book, he has given me a lesson. It was no easy thing to learn these letters and how they are put together to make words. Now, Brother Felix says I can read almost as well as he." "How wonderful!" said his mother. "How foolish!" said Ethelbald. "You'll make a good monk when you grow up," said Ethelred with a sneer. But his mother kissed him and gave him the beautiful book. "The prize is yours, Alfred," she said. "I am sure that whether you grow up to be a monk or a king, you will be a wise and noble man." And Alfred did grow up to become the wisest and noblest king that England ever had. In history, he is called Alfred the Great.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fighting Moose podcast. Please join us next time as we read another exciting story. Today's music was provided by the artist Analog by Nature, and the audio clips were provided from NASA. For more information to download and or listen to audio or materials from all our recordings, or to contact us, please visit www.thefightingmoose.com, or you can follow the links in the show notes. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you get your podcast or on iTunes, and tell a friend. Thank you for your patronage, and as always, try and do a random act of kindness every day.
Mission complete, Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the space shuttle turned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.